my friends. I'm pleased to welcome back to CyprusScene BRS President Peter Wilkins and Hakan Redif, together with Stephen Day, who was instrumental in suggesting that the British Resident Society, who were representing their British citizens members in Northern Cyprus, were perhaps in an ideal position to start a lobbying campaign through all registered British citizens could request the British government change its policy of rejecting the equal rights of those travelling to and from or living in the TRNC. So, may I start with Hakan? Can you give us an update on the lobbying campaign, please?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, thanks for having us on again. A brief update. We're continuing with the letter writing campaign. We've explained this before, that the process is open to all UK nationals, whether they're residing in the TRNC or in the UK, as an opportunity to send a letter to their MPs if they're resident to vote in the UK. In the meanwhile, we have been meeting with mainstream media. Journalists from The Guardian and The Express came to the TRNC, and we had an opportunity to have a chat with them, to tell them what life is like for Britons in the TRNC. Continuing with networking and dovetailing with other initiatives, particularly the Freedom and Fairness campaign. And most significantly, a few weeks ago, we met the 5 parliamentarians who came on a 4-day fact-finding mission to the TRNC. And like I said, we had an opportunity as a BRS lobbying committee to sit down and have a chat with them.
So, okay, what do they want to know, Hakan, please?
Yes, it was a roundtable discussion. They were very attentive. They took the issues seriously, but mainly they wanted to know things from a British perspective. So their first questions were, why are Brits choosing to live in the TRNC? Why are they remaining in the TRNC? The sort of issues that British people might face travelling to and from the TRNC, whether it's from the north in Ercan or the south in Larnaca. We've referenced a few times some health issues, not health issues, as in healthcare in the TRNC, healthcare in the UK, and how Brits bridge the gap between both countries. And also the basically day-to-day living in the TRNC, considering what it's like being isolated and having economic embargoes.
Okay. How did that affect them? Because I think they had a lot of abuse, from what I can gather.
That's right. One MP in particular had some abusive comments made directly to them. So the fact that they made an effort to come here, then obviously bearing in mind the issues that they faced to get here, it was important that they made it worth their while. I think that particular issue backfired on whoever was sending such messages, because it created negative publicity for them. But it made the MPs and parliamentarians even more determined to understand why they received such abuse, and obviously to hear our side as to why we thought they received such abuse from a simple 4-day visit.
Sure. Okay. So what I'd like to do now, if I may, I'd like to turn to Stephen, who's really the sort of the guy who set this in motion, the big challenge. So, Stephen, I know you were part of the BRS for many years, and I also understand that the campaign followed an article you wrote in Cyprus Today newspaper, making people aware of the UK role in instigating the embargoes and their unfair treatment of those people living in the TRNC. So, what would you like to say on that, please?
Well, it's nice to think that my Cyprus Today article did prompt the BRS into this very positive and, let's face it, unprecedented humanitarian lobbying campaign, because that's what it is, which in terms of its broad scope of organisations involved has never been attempted before. And to my mind, it's long overdue. But all credit, I think, should go to the coalition that it's created, represented here in this broadcast. It's made undoubted progress in changing influential UK minds already. And in such a scenario, it's in the interests of all British passport holding people, be they indigenous Brits or Turkish Cypriots, to seize this, what I believe is unprecedented opportunity, be they resident in UK or TRNC, and indeed be they cynically justified in doubting success is guaranteed or not. Because the truth is, nothing only happens if you do nothing. My article, as I recall, particularly pointed out that successive British governments since Cyprus independence in 1960 have failed in their duty as a Cyprus guarantor power, with a consequent responsibility to ensure the rights of both Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot communities on the island. They have connived in a UN and an EU approach that has internationally legitimised one Cyprus community, namely the Greek Cypriots, at the expense of the other. Caught up in that injustice are countless British passport holders resident in UK or TRNC, and to my mind, it's nothing less than a humanitarian outrage. One very important key figure of UK political and international standing, indeed, has publicly recognised the failure of UK Cyprus policy, namely the former UK Foreign Secretary Jack Straw. He has admitted that when he held that office, the UK should have used their then EU veto to block the Greek Cypriots alone from joining the EU as the Republic of Cyprus, so-called, immediately after the Greek Cypriots had overwhelmingly voted against the UN Annan plan, and the Turkish Cypriots had voted heavily yes. And what were the Turkish Cypriots rewarded with? Well, further diplomatic, economic, and international isolation. There, to me, lies, Chris, the prime example of the injustice inflicted on the Turkish Cypriots and TRNC-connected British nationals by never changing and failed UN, EU, and UK Cyprus policy.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. I have another one for you, please, Stephen. Hey, why did you suggest the BRS took up the challenge?
Well, why not?
Yeah, well,
the answer is simple.
Guide for it.
Yeah, the answer is simple. I believe that the BRS is the primarily recognised expatriate body in the TRNC as far as the TRNC government is concerned, and whether that's fair or not. I say that with no disrespect at all. I want to make this clear to any other such body. I recognise the voluntary work that all expatriate organisations of whatever nationality base do, that it's vital. It's just the obvious fact that if you're trying to get the UK Foreign Office to change its policy, the BRS is inevitably best placed to do it. I also knew the BRS had the capability to organise it. There's nothing to stop other expatriate organisations encouraging their British passport holding members to sign up to the campaign if they so desire. They would be welcome, and I hope they do.
Okay. One last question for you, sir, if I may. During your time with the BRS, did you have much to do with the BHC?
Uh, I've lost count of the number of British High Commissioners I've met over the years, bless them. First as an officer of the All-Party Parliamentary Friends of Northern Cyprus during my 15 years at Westminster, and then during my various BRS incarnations, Chris, which you probably remember, between 2009 and 2021. Most of those High Commission connections were on a personally friendly and pleasant basis, despite my frequently expressed frustrations with British Cyprus policy. I recognised, and I still do, that the High Commissioner is primarily the mouthpiece of the UK Foreign Office rather than the instigator of its policy. And it is their prime function to carry that policy out. My frustration with their stance was their inability rather, to fulfill what I consider to be their second prime function and second duty of reporting back to London, where the British diplomatic approach might be perceived as manifestly failing by those they were interacting with, like myself. Failure to provide a solution to the Cyprus problem stared them in the face, increasingly as the years went by. But they singularly failed or refused to recognise it. In other words, the existence of the High Commission in Cyprus, to my mind, is almost of no practical significance to the overall interests of British nationals in TRNC. Hence the need to go over their heads, and that's why this campaign is so important.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. I can make a little comment on that. I found myself being involved in a number of lobbying campaigns, and it's quite obvious that no matter who is contacted, they just come back with a blah blah reply. They don't actually question the answer that they've been given to.
Well, Chris, if I may add something quickly, I sent a copy of a recent article of mine referring to the campaign and referring to the failures of the British Foreign Office over the years.
Yeah.
And unusually, at this time, quite recently, as I said, I didn't get any response at all, not even an acknowledgement. So I think I've been cast into the outer darkness.
The word gobsmacked comes to mind.
Never mind.
Yeah, okay. Now, if I may, I'm going to switch to Peter, because I'm sure he's got a few things to say. So over to you, Peter.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for having us on, Chris.
So anyway,
last.
Let me just sort of brief you on that one. We have seen that recently the FCDO have exchanged their travel advice for UK citizens visiting North Cyprus. From your experience, are these points correct, sir?
It's an interesting point, question. We think, in all honesty, that technically, I suppose, if you read the advice carefully, it does talk about, it sort of highlights the fact there's no legal or binding cooperation tool between the UK and the TRNC. However, the language that has been used, we believe, is absolutely disgusting. It's very aggressive, and there is absolutely no need for anything like this. They talk about not being able to get information from the government here, but we have been in contact with them on numerous occasions to supply them with information, and it's a one-way street. There is never anything coming back to us. It's really frustrating.
Yeah. So, when was the last time you saw the British High Commissioner? visiting the TRNC to speak with UK citizens?
Well, from my point of view, I mean, we're aware, for example, that from one of the deputies, that the High Commissioner and him met with members of the UK citizenship, if you like, in the South to talk about various articles. For the previous time, well, the only time I'm aware that they've done something similar was in 2017 when Matthew Kidd was the then British High Commissioner. And they came to Chateau Ambusa Hotel in Lapta, where they met with UK citizens who are obviously asked some quite pointed and very good questions of the High Commissioner. And he was very dismissive. He was downright rude, in fact. He said that the TRNC wasn't big enough to be able to have any form of independence. And that angered a lot of people. Shortly after that thing, well, I mean, obviously we reported that. We were invited to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to meet with the then Foreign Minister, who, as fortune would have, is the current guy. And please don't ask me to pronounce his name. Hakan might get it right, but there's no way I can. And he was really angry. He was very displeased at the way that the thing had gone, and he asked us what our opinion was. And we were honest with him, and we said that, you know, it didn't represent us as UK citizens. It was really offhand. I mean, one since then, one case in particular that we've notified them to was of a lady who has severe mental health problems. There's a power of attorney document in place, but when we asked them to help us and assist us, and the relative or friends of this particular lady, they refused to talk to us. Although there was a power of attorney, they wouldn't even talk to the person who had the power of attorney. And that just shows the ignorance.
Indifference.
Yeah.
Indifference, yeah. Disgusting. Okay. Was there any comment on the latest travel advice? Have we dealt with that one?
Well, more or less. I mean, the young Turkish Cypriots who are part of the group that we actually liaise with in the UK and locally, they were very, very angry about that. More so as well, because the British High Commission actually took time to congratulate the new president of the administration in the South. The following day, they then said to the TRNC, we're sorry for your loss, and also of Turkey, for the earthquakes. Now, that was a week after the event, yet the congratulatory message to the South was on the same day that the result was announced. I mean, that is just absolutely pathetic.
It is. And you have to think to yourself, is someone prompting someone? Oh, you forgot to say. It's not on. You know, we're all equal, but not being treated equally.
No. I mean, Ben Rawlings, who's the deputy High Commissioner, he went on a tweet and he was challenged by the YTC about the contact that they had in the South with UK citizens, and said, why don't you meet with the BRS in the TRNC? To which he came back and he said, oh, we regularly meet with them. Now, if you call 2 or 3 times a year, we're invited to have a cup of tea with him at Shakespeare House as regular, then I'm sorry, that doesn't really reflect the actual truth of that matter. And actually, as a last resort, I mean, Steve mentioned it earlier, the fact that he hadn't had a response for the article that he wrote. And in November, going back to last year, our chairman, Julian Maudsley, hand-delivered a letter to Irfan Siddiqui, the British High Commissioner, to ask him to attend or arrange a meeting between the BRS and the British High Commission to discuss the lobbying campaign. To this date, we have still not received so much as an acknowledgement. I've chased that through other avenues, and there's just nothing. There's just no feedback. There's no response. I mean, if a British High Commission in Cyprus is unable to talk to the TRNC, then what use is he here? He does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I seem to recall from the past there was often talk about the High Commissioner coming to the north, but only to approved places.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously because of pressure of the Southern administration. They don't like him to go anywhere that was at one time Greek-owned property. So he can only go. I may have mentioned the fact that he went to Lambusa because that was a Turkish title deed property.
That's right. Yeah.
So you know, it's just, we believe that the British High Commissioner and the UK government has a duty of care to UK citizens, no matter where they are in the world. But it just seems to me that, as far as we're concerned, we're being penalised for living where we want to. Now, it's got nothing to do with the UK government where we live, but they have a duty of care towards us. And it's just a shame that they do not honour that. You know, and we feel ignored, and it's just another example of the bias and the treatment or lack of treatment, fairness of people that live in TRNC.
Yeah, you're right. It's been going on for far too long, and now we've all got to stand up and start being strong and speak out and make ourselves heard. It's only through concerted effort that we'll ever get anywhere. And I think it's sad that, you know, so often you hear people saying, "Well, oh, we've done it all before." You know, what difference will it make? A lot of bloody difference if you get off your butt and do something, is my view. Excuse me for the strong language, but that's what it's all about, which is why I'm doing this. You know, I feel so strongly about this. I've been here for 16, going on 17 years. And at my venerable age, air travel to the UK with my walking stick, I don't fancy it. You know, it's just ridiculous. Why can't they make it easier? So, well, thank you very much for a very interesting chat. You've certainly pointed out quite clearly that the British citizens really are demanding a change of the current policy of ignoring themselves, and that they should be treated equally, both British citizens and Turkish Cypriots. So if I had a glass in front of me, I would drink to that. So anyway, thank you very much again. Is there any final comment you'd like to make?
What I just wanted to say quickly, when you were mentioning about the High Commissioner not going to properties that weren't Turkish Cypriot Turkish title, I found it very interesting. He doesn't seem to ask the same question as to when he's visiting Greek Cypriot organisations in the south, whether the property was once owned by a Turk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's obviously flown out of Larnaca a few times.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Great to see you again.
Okay. Good to see you all. I miss you all, by the way. I'm hoping to come back and see you all in May anyway.
Make sure.
That'll be good.
Okay, cheers.
Thank you. You disappeared again. let's go back to the gallery. We're all together now. So, Hakan, anything you'd like to say, Peter?
No, I
thanks.
think
I
we're
think
fine.
we've really sort of set light to the issue, haven't we? And we've got to keep stoking that fire, make it happen. So, on that note, thank you again, and let's hope we have another chat in the not too distant future. That will be interesting, won't it?